Hey there, Rednecks, Preppies, Redneck Preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great. Good. There haven't been too many videos recently with my Jeep, but longtime viewers know that I love taking my Wrangler out on the rocks and trails of Canada's north. I'm often asked how I love my Wrangler, and I'm generally fond of responding that it depends on what day it is. Am I repairing it that day or driving it that day? That got me to thinking, perhaps I should share some points both for and against owning a Jeep Wrangler. Now, I'm not going to go lazy with a set number like top 5. I'm just going to list as many things as I've thought of. Now, as noted 20th century philosopher Bret Michaels once stated, every rose has its thorn. And here are some reasons for someone to potentially stay away from Jeeps. I'm so old, I remember when a high school student could earn enough money to buy themselves a CJ. Man, those were the days. These days, there are Wranglers approaching high-end car prices. God help you if you want to buy some kind of high and mighty Rubicon like a 392. When I bought my 2015 Willys Wrangler 5 years ago, there was a Recon Edition Rubicon that had a price tag of 60,000 Canadian dollars on it. And that was the pre-COVID dealer special market adjustment era. Even bog standard Sport and Sahara Wranglers have seen a steady hike in prices over the past half decade, to the point where a lot of people don't want to wheel their Jeep because the damn thing has cost so much. And if you think the current economic climate is going to prompt Jeep to hold the line on prices or offer big rebates, think again. Stellantis, its parent company, said last month that they have no intention of responding to lower sales like other manufacturers. They stated they intend to protect their profit margin and continue moving up in the market. Jeep is not the working man's off-road vehicle anymore. Now, this one will probably pertain more to those who wheel their vehicles, but another potential downside is increased maintenance. If you wheel your vehicle, you're putting additional strain, wear, and tear on it, so expect to be spending more time with either your wrench or a mechanic to keep things in spec. But even if you don't wheel, there is more maintenance required for your Wrangler. You can be like most people and ignore that stuff. The guy who owned my Jeep before me wasn't a big fan of differential gear oil replacement, for example. But you may pay the price down the road with increased repairs. Now, I don't mean to make the Wrangler sound like it needs constant attention. It's not a fragile flower that will die if you don't do an oil change when you're supposed to. But you should stay on top of your Jeep's maintenance cycles. What trips a lot of people up and increases their maintenance bills is that they fail to realize that the Wrangler is a 4x4 vehicle, but they drive them like a car and they end up putting unnecessary strain on it, requiring that extra maintenance. Wranglers come in 2 and 4-door models, but to be honest with you, neither one is going to stand out as a family vehicle. There are some people who will tell you that Wranglers have comfortable seating. I even know a few people who will argue this, but if you've spent any time on the back seat of a 4-door Wrangler, you will probably respectfully disagree. The usual stereotype is someone sells the sports car for a minivan once they go down that family route, but Wrangler owners must be a close second in the trading in or buying another vehicle when it comes to family needs. And yes, getting in and out of a Jeep, 2-door or 4-door, can be challenging for some people, particularly if you have a lifted Wrangler. God bless my mother for not complaining too often when I drive her to the grocery store. And tied into that, cargo space isn't exactly something that Wranglers hang their hat on. It's almost non-existent on a 2-door Jeep and only somewhat better on a 4-door. Add to that fact that it's unsecured like a regular trunk is, and most people look elsewhere when it comes to their grocery hauling. Yeah, the back seats go down to expand cargo space. That's more of a kludge than a bonus, though. Whoa, Nelly! If you've never driven a Jeep down a rutted road, you haven't even experienced life yet. Okay, I exaggerate, but I'm not revealing a secret when I say that no one in history has ever given a Wrangler an award for handling. First off, the good news is that it is a bit harder to get a speeding ticket in a Wrangler. There is a reason why a lot of them have that sticker that says you may get there faster, but I can go anywhere. Well, anywhere more slowly. Takeoff speed is meh at best, and it gets worse if you put bigger tires on. Worse still if you haven't geared properly for those new tires. 0 to 60 isn't Lada territory, but unless you have an LS swap engine, stay away from drag races. The handling itself is mediocre. Bigger tires mean that your Jeep will move to follow things like ruts, which can be very disconcerting for new drivers. Steering is a bit looser than on other vehicles, so drivers can find themselves, constantly adjusting. Finally, most people find the Wrangler to have a stiff and bumpy ride. Personally, I like having a ride where I feel the road, but a lot of people prefer to drive on pillows. I dig it. Given how a Wrangler is constructed, probably won't be a surprise to you that road noise is a thing while driving. If you've got a soft top or no top, it's loud out there. But even with the hard top, you're going to face a noisier drive than you would in most other vehicles. If you've got a hard top, you can mitigate this to some extent by installing a aftermarket headliner, but on all honesty, it's not going to be night and day with one. Just turn the radio up louder. Rent time, the fact that Jeep doesn't include a headliner on its rather expensive hardtop is pathetic, but those Mopar headliners that you can buy contribute to the bottom line for Stellantis. Gotta soak those customers for every last dollar. Unless you're driving one of them electric Wrangler atrocities, you're gonna learn about fuel economy. It's no surprise that a vehicle, one which one meme famously compared to a cow when it came to aerodynamics, and the cow won, that's shaped like two bricks stacked on each other would have less than flattering gas mileage. You can blame part of that on the 3.6 liter Pentastar engine that Chrysler has been pimping out on everything from cargo vans to muscle cars, an engine that was unveiled all the way back in 2009. Throw in the transmission, even the ones on the JL and JT models. Perhaps inappropriate gear ratios. Hell, a good chunk of it can be laid on the owners themselves who bolt on armor, bigger tires, lift kits, recovery equipment, and God knows what else, thereby increasing the vehicle weight. You'll have plenty of time to decide for yourself because you'll be spending time at the pumps on a regular basis. Anyone who's spent time in a Jeep Wrangler knows that the amenities and creature comforts are far and few between. Yes, leather seats and seat warmers and that sort of thing are available, but at the end of the day, most people think of the interior of a Wrangler as being meh. You have the lovely hard and cheap feeling plastic that makes up most of the interior. I've already discussed the seating and its comfort, so I won't go over that again. But why are there no power seats? Frankly, I'm happy with old school seats, and I hear that the 2024 Wranglers will have power seats, but kind of amazing they haven't been an option until now. You got an infotainment system, which has grudgingly entered 2015. Now, this will also be changing in the 2024 Wranglers, as I'm told they've followed that horrible industry trend of gluing a large tablet to the dash and calling it a day. Progress, not always a good thing. As you can see from the picture, though, still nothing exciting. I'll be honest with you, that actually doesn't bother me. I would be happy with a modern Jeep that has the CJ's dash. I personally don't need fancy. Another kind of weirdness is there's a surprising lack of Wrangler-specific information systems. I'm talking things like off-road navigation that's standard, a dashboard that has specific off-road and related information. Now, I know the JL and JT models have an upgraded dashboard with a lot of this, but there's still a lot of stuff that I think that I'd want there. Why, for example, is it so hard to have voltage information easily available? Important to us who run aftermarket gear like winches, compressors, and the like. That was a lot of negativity. Now, let's look at the reasons I think you should seriously consider a Wrangler. You might be surprised to learn that the Wrangler is amongst the industry leaders in holding resale values. If you buy one, maintain it well, and keep it in good shape, don't be surprised for what you could sell it in a few or even many years down the line. One recent study found that the Wrangler Unlimited, the 4-door version, and the Wrangler, the 2-door version, were the top 2 vehicles to hold their values. For the Unlimited, it lost just 30% of its value over the first 5 years, while the 2-door model lost just 31.5% over that same period. Those are incredible numbers. Recently, it was even better. During the insane used car market over the past few years, I was offered thousands of dollars more than I paid for my used 2015 Wrangler, despite the fact that it was a few years older and had additional mileage on it from when I purchased it in 2018. Arguably, the most famous feature of the Wrangler is the fact that you can turn it into a doorless, roofless convertible, or both. That's referred to as a naked Jeep, by the way. Anytime you want. There is something so incredible about driving down the road or highway with nothing over your head or beside you. If you're a particularly mad lad, you can even lower the windshield down. A few years back, I was at a grocery store and slid out of my Wrangler. An elder lady who was parked beside me looked at its lack of a roof and doors, smiled, and said, "Oh my, that must be so much fun." All I could do was smile back and just say, "Yes, ma'am." It's not for everyone. It's a damn cool feature. I'm not sure I need to go too deep into this one. If you aren't aware that the Wrangler is one of the most off-road capable consumer vehicles on the planet, not even sure why you're watching this video. Every Wrangler comes with a badge just behind its right front fender that proclaims it to be trail rated, which means it's passed a series of tests which cover traction, water fording, ground clearance, articulation, and maneuverability. Although the Rubicon model is the king of the Wrangler family when it comes to off-road performance, even the more modest Sport and Sahara models are surprisingly capable on some very difficult terrain. The folks over at TFL Off-Road even took a Sahara on the infamous Rubicon Trail a few years back, and while it did take some damage, it made it through. Now, the furthest off-road that most non-Rubicon model Wrangler owners take their vehicles is probably the parking lot of their local grocery store. But they always have the capability of going into some gnarly places and making it back out. Just don't go out alone. Wranglers aren't just about off-road performance though. Its 4x4 capability is pretty useful when it comes to adverse conditions, such as snow, for those of us who endure winter. If AR-15s are the equivalent of Lego for gun owners, Jeep Wranglers have to be the same for off-road enthusiasts. It's mind-boggling the amount of aftermarket support that Wranglers have. If you can dream it, there's likely some kind of part or accessory out there that you can bolt onto your vehicle. That's what makes builds so interesting. Although many of them resemble each other, discerning eyes can see the myriad of differences that are also there. And add to that customizing ability, it seems that there are relatively few stock parts that you can't take off fairly easily. I've never owned a vehicle before where I could, for example, remove both bumpers and replace them with one of hundreds of aftermarket versions within a few hours. We replace the front grills of our vehicles. Who else does that? I opened this video joking that I seem to be repairing my Wrangler as much as driving it, but in reality, I've been pretty happy with its durability. Given some of the things that I've done to it over the past few years, I can't really complain about the shape that it's in, which is actually pretty good. Certainly other vehicles wouldn't have survived quite as well. A friend of mine, hey Kat, argues that if you follow your Wrangler's maintenance schedule, there's no reason why you won't get several 100,000 miles of life out of it. Jeeps do have their quirks. Wrangler owners usually say it's a known issue when hearing about a problem. But if you go in knowing what to expect, you can deal with most of them. Provided you're not an idiot with your Wrangler, it is a vehicle, not a magic carpet. I think that you'll find that it's a pretty durable vehicle. A few minutes ago, I compared Wranglers to Lego, and that clumsy metaphor extends to repairability. I'm not saying that as soon as you buy a Wrangler, you'll be turning a wrench, even if you don't know the difference between a combination wrench and an adjustable wrench. But I think you'll be surprised as how many repairs that you can do yourself if you just take the time to learn. For all the electronics that they've been jamming into Wranglers in the recent years, they're still relatively simple vehicles in many respects. I'm not suggesting that you're going to be doing your own axle swap within a month of buying a Wrangler, particularly if you aren't mechanically inclined, but I think you'll find yourself doing quite a few minor to medium level repairs and modifications on your own. The key is to do some research, talk to people who know, and don't be afraid to get in and get your hands dirty. And I'm going to be honest with you, to a certain extent, Wranglers are a do-it-yourself proposition. You can pay a mechanic to do all the maintenance and work on your Jeep, but it's a lot cheaper if you do it yourself. And given a lot of the simplicity that's built into a Jeep, you can save a lot of money doing things yourself. Some people look at the Jeep Wave as corny and cultish, but the reality is that when you buy a Wrangler, you're not just getting a vehicle, you're getting millions of new friends. Don't be surprised if fellow Jeep owners come up to you and just start talking you out of the blue, asking questions about your vehicle and offering up tips and planned excursions. We're always more than happy to meet someone new to the tribe and often more than eager to help a new owner with any questions they might have. Stuck on the side of a road with a Wrangler? Don't be surprised if it's another Wrangler owner that stops to help. Made a call that you're stuck on a trail and need help? There'll be some Jeepers out there for sure to render whatever assistance they can. We take care of our own. You buy a Wrangler, you also have a lot of people who've now got your back. I ended with pros, and you might be tempted to think that was a deliberate choice, that I'm subtly leading you on the path to buying a Wrangler. I'm probably guilty as charged. I've never been happier as a driver than when I'm behind the wheel of a Jeep. Whether I'm off-road wondering why the hell I let someone talk me into crawling over a rock that seems the size of a small house, or just driving down the highway with some music blasting, I'm always happy driving my Jeep. I realize that as a vehicle it has good and bad things, advantages and compromises. There are no perfect vehicles. But when I ask myself whether I'd make the same choice today that I did years ago, the answer is always the same. Damn right I would. At any rate, I hope you found today's video to at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. Have your own reasons for and against? Leave them in the comments below. As always, I hope your vehicle, whatever it may be, though hopefully it's a Jeep, takes you wherever adventure is. Take care, and bye-bye.